You're looking at 11 volumes of Nimmer on copyright, a treatise. I know that you know how to read and use books, obviously, so I'll just show you a few things to help you become more efficient at using these kinds of books, these treatises. And we'll also listen to some great music and some not so great music as we get deeper into this parody issue. So I'll quickly show you the word and topic search methods. Let's start with the word search method, which means we'll search in an index. So we'll go to the index in Nimmer. From our plog, well, first I should say that we need some words to take into the index. And looking at our plog here, I see that copyright, fair use, and parody are probably some of the best words. Which of these should we go for? In other words, which one would Goldilocks be happy with? Copyright's probably too broad, so let's not go there. And parody, on the other hand, might be too specific or narrow, so we'll reserve that. And then fair use seems to have the best chance of success because it's neither too broad nor too narrow. So we'll look at parody if fair use doesn't yield anything, but we're going to start with fair use in the index. So here we have volume 11, which is the index. You can see it's arranged alphabetically. And under fair use, we find parody. And that leads us to sections, well, that leads us to volume 4. See the 4 there? That's for volume, because there's 11 volumes. And then chapter 13, section 5, C1, C2, and C3. And note that that section is called generally. And generally is a good place, generally, to start. If you don't know anything about the topic, like parody here, then you want to go to the generally section. So we'll add that chapter 13, section 5, C1, C2, C3 to our blog. But we also see this section in volume 2, chapter 8 about the market. And that's interesting because our client didn't make much money, but yeah, she didn't make much money. So we want to check that out. We'll first go to volume 2, chapter 8, because I'm thinking that it won't be very helpful, and I kind of just want to get it out of the way. And as we see here, sure enough, it isn't very helpful in helping us understand what a parody is. But see how methodical we are? We exhausted the index. We wrote the 2 leads we had down on the plog, and now we're following up on each lead. So we'll cross off volume 2, chapter 8 here, and we'll focus on chapter 13, section 5, C1, C2, and C3. So as we look at this section here, C1 didn't give me much, but under C2 we have Campbell. That's the case where Two Live Crew remade Roy Orbison's classic Pretty Woman. And remember, we found this during our Google search. So finding it here corroborates this source. 2 or more sources confirming a lead case or lead source is a clue that you need to really slow down and read the source carefully. So as I read here, it looks like Two Live Crew used the famous bass riff and lyrics from the Roy Orbison's Pretty Woman, but the U.S. Supreme Court said that that was a parody. So should we do some due diligence? Let's watch and listen to the first bit of Pretty Woman, the original, and then we'll watch and listen to Two Live Crew's remake of that. Okay, and here's the Two Live Crew remake. Enjoy. Okay, so we'll read more of the Campbell case, but seeing those 2 videos gives you an idea of what it's about. So let's add a note to the blog about what we learned about Campbell. So we'll keep reading in the treatise here, and I come across this case here, this Henley case. A person used Don Henley's music but altered the lyrics to poke fun at Barack Obama and some others. And a federal district court in California said that it wasn't a parody, so the defendant was liable. So that's just like ours, right? Same music, different lyrics, not a parody. But it was a kind of a political thing where the guy was poking fun not at the original song but at a third party. So we'll definitely put that in the plug. But where does it go? So from the footnote we can determine the weight of this case. So you can see from the three factors here, how should we weight this? Yes, that's right. It's only persuasive authority because it's from a different jurisdiction. Okay, now researching on, I found this Family Guy case. The creators of Family Guy substituted the lyrics from When You Wish Upon a Star to ones they created. So new lyrics, same music for the most part. They altered it just a tiny bit. But the court there said that it was a parody because they were making fun of, as they said, the sugar sweet original song. So same music, different lyrics, just like our case, is a parody. Okay, so we'll put that in the plug. And what weight should we give this? That's right. It's only persuasive because, again, it's from a different jurisdiction. So our haul from this treatise is that we now know that Campbell is the main case, so we'll spend more time on that a little bit later. And we also added Henley and Bourne, which are both only persuasive authority, but they help us understand where our case fits. I'm seeing a spectrum here from what is to is not a parody. Campbell and Bourne are examples of a parody, and then what happened in Henley, or the song in Henley, is not a parody. Okay, one last point here. The topic method of research is to go and look at a table of contents. If you're just totally lost, look at the table of contents either at the beginning of the chapter, like you're seeing here, or at the beginning of the treatise. And you can just kind of scan looking for something that's on point. Okay, so let's go back to the workbook and you'll see how to search a treatise online.